Welcome to the Post-Shift Podcast, your raw look at the hospitality industry, brought to you by SHC. What is happening, Post-Shifters? Welcome back to another episode of the Post-Shift Podcast. Of course, I'm your host, Shawn Soole. This week, I've got a very old friend of mine, Jeffrey Morgenthaler, who was actually on my 100th episode of the show many years ago, which is crazy to think. I think it was in late 2019 or early 2020 that we did the 100th episode. And now we're going on to 450 plus episodes. I've known Jeffrey for a really long time, almost sort of pre-Facebook. Actually, it was pre-Facebook because he was featured in a magazine I used to help run out of New York called Chilled Magazine. Then he came up here for Art of the Cocktail. And I made him a whole bunch of stuff, which is a story unto itself because my wife still regales the story when we had a bottle of ginger beer that I left on the side continually fermenting for about a month after AOTC. And we were sitting down watching a movie, and all of a sudden we just heard this massive explosion in the kitchen, and it was just covered in Jeffrey Morgenthaler ginger beer and everything. He's written books, he's done stuff. One of the best stories that I've ever got with Jeffrey is, I've actually told the story like multiple times over the last couple of weeks because I've had Julie Ryan and Alex Cortina on the show, was when we traveled to the BNIC Cognac Summit many years ago, about 15 years ago. So I hope that's a good enough intro for you, Jeff.
Well, I have never heard the ginger beer story.
Yeah.
I didn't. You can't leave that stuff unrefrigerated, man. That is not. It doesn't work.
Yeah, it was.
But we all learn the hard way, don't we?
Yeah, it was one of those bottles. A bottle wasn't clean, and I didn't want to give it to you after prepping all your stuff at home. For some reason, I prepped at home and not at Clive's, but I prepped at home, and then I left it, and it was behind like the fruit bowl or something, and it just exploded to a point of there was no actual glass left until you found it in your foot, like a couple of
your foot. Yeah, you're like, well, I guess we're back to shoes in the kitchen for the next 6 weeks.
Exactly. But yeah, I think the best story, and I've told the story a bunch of times this last couple of weeks because I had Alex on the show this week and Julie earlier last week, I think, was that cognac summit, that BNIC cognac summit that we attended in 2010.
I came across some pictures of that cognac summit from 2010 recently, and we all look like babies. Like Alex is unrecognizable.
Yeah. Like Eric, myself, you, Sasha, like it was just an insane.
Oh my God, just babies, wee babies. I mean, that was 15 years ago now.
Yeah.
And we weren't like, it's not like we were all young then.
No.
Right?
No.
Like, I was already like almost 40.
Yeah, I was in my early 30s. But it is a crazy that was a crazy trip. For everybody listening, and what's your origin story? How'd you get in the bartending industry? Because I think that's a fascinating story, because we're both small market bartender guys, and we always come in. And I do love your origin story.
I mean, it's pretty much the same as I think many people's origin story is, that like it was going to be just a part-time summer job in college and nothing more than that. It wasn't. It's not like I always, it's not like anybody in my family ever worked in hospitality. It's not like I lived above a bar in Chicago when I was a wee lad or anything. I'd never even really been to bars. I didn't care about bars. I was in college, but like, I just didn't really drink. I didn't have the money to go out. And then I got this, part-time job for the summer at, people would call it a dive bar now, and it was on its way to becoming a dive bar, but it was a venerable old neighborhood tavern that opened in 1933, and it was a sweet working class bar that a new owner had started running into the ground. So I was there for the tail end of the nice bar period before it really just like completely tanked. And I didn't really like the work all that much. I wasn't really good at it, but by the end of the summer, I was going to go back to school, and they said, well, we'll you can work nights if you want to stay. And I was like, oh shit, yeah, like make money and go to school at the same time. And so and so there you have it. And I stayed at that bar for 4 years. Even after I graduated, I kept tending bar there. And then it was just like, uh, I worked at a VFW hall. I worked at a pool hall. I worked, just worked at all kinds of places until I kind of like started falling in love with it and crawled my way up into fine dining and then cocktails, and the rest is history, I guess.
There's always the dichotomy of origin stories of like, I did it because I got kicked out of home and I needed money and needed to get a job, or I was in college, or that like storied, I'm fifth generation bartender. I grew up in my grandparents' bar, tending
Totally.
bar when I was 5 years old. The dichotomy of
Totally.
origin stories is always hilarious.
It's like chefs always have like their like, why are you a chef? It's like, well, my nona, we would all of my memories are being in the garden with my nona picking the fresh basil, and then you're like, is any of this even true?
What was that? What was the switch that like clicked for you that the industry was going to be your like long-term plan?
Long-term plan didn't really switch until pretty recently, when Clyde Common at the Ace Hotel
Mm.
recruited me out of Eugene to move to Portland. I mean, at that point, I was still trying to do like graphic design, design work. That was my degree, was design. So I was still trying to do that while I was working in bars, but not making any money at it, not really making a huge dent in it. And then when they called and asked if I would move to Portland, I was like, I mean, I guess this is it, right? Like I have to jump in with both feet. This can't really just be like it was never a part-time job, but it can't be like, I can't be kind of half in, half out. Like if I'm going to move to a bigger city and take over a huge program at a very visible, and already popular hotel bar, I need to just like this. I think this is just my career. I mean,
Wow.
that was the moment that I was just like, I mean, I was always into it, but it always kind of felt like I'm doing this as a hobby until the design thing takes off.
Oh wow. So Clyde
A
Cohen,
hobby, a hobby and a job, right? So it was like 40 hours a week at the bar, also reading about bar stuff, writing about bar stuff, thinking about bar stuff all the time. But somehow in the back of my mind, like, I'm going to be a designer one day.
so you went opposite way. The design work was always your fallback, your safety net if the bartending thing didn't work out.
If the bartending thing didn't work out, then it was going to be a career in architecture. Yeah.
What was the driving force to make the decision to start blogging? Like because we like for the youngsters, and I hate doing the youngsters of these today. Like blogging was it was prolific. It was one of our main forms of information transfer when the internet really started happening. What was the driving force behind the Jeffrey Morgenthaler blog when it first started?
To share recipes with regulars that wanted them. We had a very popular restaurant bar, and people loved my drinks, and we'd get a lot of people asking how to make, if they could get them a recipe so they can make it at home. And I've always been into computers
Mm-hmm.
and stuff like that. And blogs were really new, and so I put some blog software on a website that I built and started posting the recipes up there. Also as a way to drive people to my design portfolio. Yeah.
So JeffreyMorgenthaler.com started out more of your as your design portfolio over the actual
Totally.
recipe. Oh,
Yeah.
that's cool.
Yeah.
I didn't know that story.
Yeah, and then the blog really like took over. And by the way, blogs still very much exists. Like anytime you go to look for a recipe online, you're pretty much ending up at some sort of food blog. I mean, those things are still, and my website's still not as active as it was, but it's still there, and I still update it as regularly as I can.
So let's go back to Clyde Common because that again, that's a point that I've never heard from you. Is that Clyde Common was your sort of catalyst for like really taking this serious, because that's when you really started like making a name for yourself. I think we in 2011, we were in the same cohort for Tales of the Cocktail Best Hotel Bar, which was really cool. It was you and I against, I think, two bars in London. I think Artesian and the Kona, or Artesian and the Silverway, and we always like that's what we.
That's crazy. What a weird lineup, right?
And the thing is, when people like try and people ask me about Clyde Common, whenever I go to a city, especially if I go regularly enough, I try and find my local bar, a place that like I can go have breakfast, I can have lunch, I can go have late night drinks, like a place that is a one-stop shop for everything I would want in that city. And Clyde Common was always my spot in Portland. Was my like that's my spot. I go, like, I've had breakfast there, I've had lunch there, I've got
Yeah,
friends in the afternoon.
totally.
What was the sort of surprise with you taking on Clyde Common and then sort of like elevating, like having this sort of elevated concept put upon you when you were in that sort of transition stage between like, oh, is this my real thing, or is this still my like side thing? What was
Oh, I mean, it wasn't a surprise, and it wasn't that big of a transition because I'd been running very successful bar programs for a long time. I just wasn't like 100% in with both feet, like sort of spiritually, you know,
I can
like, you know what I mean? Like, um, it wasn't like there was a huge learning curve. I mean, it was bigger and more fast paced and more sort of visible than any bar I'd ever run. But I'd already been running, you know, crazy successful bar programs in a town that nobody had ever heard of for a decade before that. So
it sounds like most of my career. Uh,
Mhm.
and then, of course, after Clyde Common, you did Pepe Le Moco, which again was one of my favorite bars in Portland.
That was fun.
That was a fun bar. That was a
I
lot.
just I saw that picture I took of you when you came down, and I was starting to get back into film photography
Yeah, still one of my
recently.
favorite photos. Still one of my favorite photos.
Yeah, me too.
So it's hard to believe that Bar Book is over 10 years old now. Like I was
Like
like, oh
11 years old. Isn't that
yeah,
crazy?
it is, because I was like, I just looked up a few things before we got on the chat, and I was like, when did Bar Book come out? Because even your second book came out in 2018. Your second book's 7 years old, and I feel like they were just the other year, like
I know, seriously.
post
It's nuts.
pandemic sort
And
of.
then also in some ways it feels like it was like 30 years ago that those things came out, you know.
So when did you go to the publisher with the bar book concept, or did the publisher come to you, or was it like a mutual thing? How did the bar book come about? Because it has become young bartenders, if you're listening, any bartender actually, if you're listening right now and you haven't got bar book on your shelf, you're missing out. But how did that sort of come to fruition?
My well, I had spoken, I'd been thinking about writing a book, and I was approached by an agent who said, you know, I know your blog. We like the bar. You ever thought about writing a book? I was like, I have thought about writing a book. She said, let's meet. We met, and I pitched my idea, which was the bar book, which was, you know, kind of a crazy pitch because at the time, every cocktail book that came out was like recipe, pretty picture, recipe, pretty picture, recipe, pretty picture, and maybe a little story about drinks. But you know, with those books, what you do is you get them and you kind of flip through and you go, oh, maybe I'll make that one day, and then it sits on your coffee table for 6 months, and then it goes onto a shelf, and then it just never gets opened again. And I wanted to write a textbook, and that was a really hard sell. And she told me, like, you just can't do that. Like, you can't write that book. Nobody's gonna, you know no publisher's gonna say yes to that. And I was like, that's fine. I mean, I guess I'm not writing a book. Like, I have a successful blog and people read it, and all I really want to do is get this information out to other people anyway. I don't care how I do it, so I guess I just won't write a book. And uh, we parted ways, and oddly enough, like a couple months later, my friend Martha Holmberg, who's a cookbook author, uh, she approached me and said, look, I work with this one publisher called Chronicle Books. They're doing some cocktail books. They would like to do a cocktail book of somebody Portland, because Portland was like very hot back then. So it was like, I think probably what they wanted was like Portland cocktails. And I said, yeah, I've got this idea. I've been told that it's terrible, but I have an idea. And she was like, that's pretty tough one. Look, I can give you their contact info and you guys can talk. And you can write a proposal. I'm like, I don't know how to do that. And she's like, well, I can write the proposal for you, but you have to pay me. And I was like, I don't have any money. She was like, well, we could write the proposal together and write the book together. And I was like, I like that one. And it was so, since this book was envisioned to be a textbook and more like a cookbook than a traditional recipe, pretty picture cocktail book, it was really helpful to have a very experienced, established, and brilliant cookbook author on my team. Because she knew that I wanted to approach it that way. It was about technique. It wasn't about recipes. So that was really helpful, and so we kind of shook up the system a little bit too. And the little sort of formatting things, the way that cocktails used to be sort of laid out in cocktail books was very different from the way that we wanted to do it. And so, we kind of shook up the system a little bit, just by recipe format,
when it all came out after all the sort of like, nah, it's not going to work. No one's going to work. Even in your heart of hearts, you obviously thought you knew this was going to work. Were you surprised at the complete and utter like blow up that happened when it came out and everybody's like, this is like a seminal bartending work for the 21st century?
Very surprised. I mean, I thought it was good, but I was like, I didn't think that it was going to be on like, I didn't think it was going to be the book that like every young bartender got handed, to learn how to, like, it's crazy. I mean, that's what I wanted, but when it blew up like that, and it's the fact that it's still selling really, really well is completely insane to me.
The one thing that you've always done, and I've always been, I always love this about you, is that you give out a lot of information for free, like all your spreadsheets, your web apps that you've been doing. And have you even like, I saw a picture of a story, I think, on your page. Are you teaching yourself how to code?
A little bit. I mean, I always have. I'm just like that guy. Like, I don't know all this stuff super well, but I'm always dabbling. Like, I wrote the first 3 versions of my website. Like, I coded from scratch with just like a text editor. I don't do that anymore, but with the coding, with the web apps, the 3 web apps that I've done, like, I've gotten some help, but I know just enough to be dangerous. Like, I have a 12 terabyte media server right here that I built that has all my music and movies and stuff on it for home. I'm just constantly, I don't really talk about it, but I'm just constantly like kind of poking around with technology and shit like that.
Yeah. I don't think even these days, like, I'm sure you did. You had a MySpace page, but even MySpace back in the day, there would be code editing necessary to make
yeah right yeah everybody knew a little bit of HTML, right?
Exactly. Like, there'd be HTML coding changes up so that you could like make it sparkle more or have the frame rate go a little bit quicker. Like, it was kind of crazy what you used to be able to learn and do. But going back, like, what has always been your mentality to just putting out information? Because in a world that we have in this day and age where we have everybody trying to charge everybody for everything, and you could easily throw that up as a subscription service for your website or anything like that, and probably make good money out of all your apps and everything that you do. Why do you still do it for free? What is your driving force behind it?
I didn't realize that you could charge for it. I'm gonna change. Everything's gonna change immediately. Thanks so much, Shawn. No, being being interested in computers and like the web stuff in the early days, the open source movement was really interesting to me. The idea that people would just put stuff out for free, and it would sort of make everybody, it would sort of like elevate everyone else, right? That was really exciting to me, and I've just kept that attitude, I guess, so it's really important to me that I put out, I also, like, I'm not independently wealthy. Like, I'm not, I'm still trying to like pay my rent, and like, and some days are better than others. Right. But I do it to, because I want to help. And also, it's helped keep me, I'm still here. Right. I mean, you and I knew a lot of bartenders back in, the mid 2000s, early mid 2000s together, that are just no longer, they might be bartending somewhere, but nobody knows who they are. And I still want to be in the mix and participating, and giving out free shit is just a great way to do that. And hopefully it turns into jobs. Hopefully, liquor companies are like, hey, let's bring out the guy that wrote all the web apps to talk to a bunch of bartenders about, bar philosophy or whatever, and pay him a little bit of money. Like that's kind of the dream right there.
Talking about that, because we've had multiple conversations. I think usually when people, like, we were in San Francisco and H was like, I'm so proud of what you guys have done, da 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 da. Like, you're really cutting the, like, yeah, but money, that's the thing. Have you, and I think we both have the same problem, is like, have you figured out how to monetize your personal brand and make it something that is sustainable?
I don't think of anything as like any of this as like personal brand. I just don't think in that way. I've never used the word monetize. I'm just like trying to do the best I can and share as much as I can on the very short time that I'm on this planet, and help other bartenders and people that like to make drinks. But I don't even know what a personal brand is. Like, I know that I have one and that it's pretty strong, but I don't think about it. I'm just the guy that's like, oh, hey, this would be a cool idea. And then I just like put it on the internet, and then, or I think, oh, you know what? I just saw a video on somebody making rhubarb syrup, and I have such a better way to make rhubarb syrup. And I realized that I've never shared it, even though I've been doing it this way for like, 20 years. And so I'll just put that on the internet and share it. Like, I don't think in terms of like personal brand.
That's refreshing.
Yeah. I think it's probably kind of weird, but that's just how my brain works and doesn't work.
It's smart. Was there any recipes when you've been going through developing like the bar book that you were like, shit, this is kind of throwing me for a loop? Were all the recipes for bar book like laid out, ready to rock and roll, like perfect?
Oh yeah. I mean, all of my recipes have been tweaked, and that's the thing. That's the difference between people who tend bar and people who don't tend bar. People who don't tend bar or don't tend bar often will have to, like, you'll see them on the internet. They're like, I'm doing R&D on Collins's, and trying different gins or whatever. And it's like, I can just be like, well, I made like 10 Collins last night, and I made them with 8 different gins, and I straw tasted all of them, and now I've got that recipe down. Like, like there wasn't that book was like a brain dump. I really didn't have to do a ton of. I mean, it was a lot of work, but I didn't have to, like, I wasn't starting from scratch. I wasn't like looking up what a fucking daiquiri is. I already had that in my little, my little book that I keep in my back pocket for a decade.
Is there still gas in the tank for you in the way of, like, is there still recipes you want to still put out? Is a second edition of
Totally.
the book, as we're talking about, like 11 years ago? Fuck, 11 years ago is mental. Is there a second edition of the bar book in the works, or sort of in the back of your brain?
No, I have an idea for another cocktail book that I would like to write that's more like personal, that's kind of like more like my recipes and
Mm,
because the bar book was like, there weren't like a lot of like originals in there.
yep.
It was mostly classics, that's kind of how I work, but I have a huge catalog of my stuff, and then just the way that I do other classic cocktails or other people's cocktails. So I have an idea for kind of a more traditional style of cocktail book that I would really like to do. That's got, just got some updates, but I don't, you don't want to cannibalize the bar book. You want to have like a sort of companion to that book.
Do you still love getting behind the wood and bartending? Do you still love bartending?
Totally. Yeah. Also, sometimes I fucking hate it. You know, I think that you probably, I mean, you probably get this a lot. You probably talk to people who don't tend bar that often or haven't tend bar in 10 years, and they're like, "Oh, I love it. I just love the whole experience and the people, and everything's just like this beautiful moment of hospitality." And I mean, that's great, but I think you also have to like, if you do it as a job, like you also, there are times when it
Mhm.
fucking sucks. Like, let's be totally honest. There's all the things that happen in bars, and not every single moment is this beautiful hospitality like
Yeah.
vignette. Sometimes it's like, trying to figure out, like, do Rochambeau to figure out who's gonna figure out how to get the puke out of the bathroom sink, or you
Unplug
know
the toilet.
dealing with somebody that really seems like they just came out to have a bad time.
Yeah. Yeah.
um I mean, that you know what I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah. I to be honest, I haven't bartended for a long time. I bartend here and there, but I don't miss it. I don't miss the not the ego, but, like, I don't miss the 8-hour grind of a bar shift. Like,
Yeah.
courtesy much younger people doing it for me and going, "Okay, well, that's you're in love with this right now. That's great for you."
Yeah. Yeah.
So you travel a ton, and speak all over the world, and you're constantly doing stuff. What's a town, a city that you go, okay, I'm really looking forward to it this year when I travel to that place?
mm. Obviously I go to Germany a lot. I go to Berlin a lot. Berlin's great. I would love to do more I've done some work in London and Amsterdam. I would love to do more there. Um, I've still never been to Japan.
Oh, wow.
I haven't been anywhere in Asia since 1987. Uh, I would love to do that. I would love to see more and do more, but it's just you just got to kind of like get in with the right liquor company to make that happen, you know. And I've got strong relationships with liquor companies in Germany, so that's where I go. But I'd like to see more.
For a young bartender starting out and wanting to do the same thing you've done, as you said, like that rhubarb recipe. Like, I've been making rhubarb syrup for fucking ever, and I've never shown
Mhm.
anyone how to make it. What would be your steps to take for a young bartender to start like making that move to putting out their information, and not just a young, but any bartender to put out their information out in the world to sort of be picked up?
One thing that I was thinking about this recently. And it's funny that you like mentioned blogs, because I think blogs are still very important because they're like static,
Hmm.
searchable, findable. People post recipes and techniques and stuff on Instagram, and then they're gone. Like, you can't find it, you can't
Mm,
Google it, you can't, you can sort of be like with your phone, like 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 it wasn't an account that I follow, but it was something that was suggested to me. What was it? But there's no way to like look it up. So your stuff is like lost to the ether. Like, I really would recommend people that want to truly share knowledge to get a cheap free website and throw some shit up on there. It doesn't have to look great. It doesn't have to, throw up a picture and some words, and just start doing it. But the social media thing is great to sort of like blast your ideas out to a million people, but once it's gone, it's kind of gone, you know?
Yeah.
So that's why I think static websites are really important for this kind of information.
Do you think the blogging is going to come back because of that reason? Like that sort of circular.
Well, like I said, it never left. I mean, it's still blogging's very much cocktail blogs aren't like a cool thing anymore, but blogs there's a trillion blogs out there. I mean, I
So
look at blogs every day. I cook a lot, and
yeah,
you know, and
I
I
was that jump to recipe.
jump to recipe totally. Yeah, blogs are very much alive. Not so much in the cocktail world. Cocktail world kind of pivoted to
Mm,
like, you know,
digital, like
mostly to
YouTube.
TikTok and Instagram. But if you want to have a lasting presence, I think in this industry, I would recommend finding something static.
Jump to recipe would be a great cookbook recipe. Great cookbook name.
That's a
Uh,
great cookbook name, yeah. But it would have to be for like recipes, like a cookbook from some like mommy blog where the
yeah,
recipes are like kind of shit, but the pictures are nice. The stories are all fucking lame.
the pork's overcooked, but the chimichurri is on fire.
Mm.
How do you? Because we were just talking about photography and getting back into that. Have you always had it easy for work-life balance? Have you struggled with work-life balance to find it for yourself and like sort of balancing out your create? Because you're a super creative guy like that. For like when you pulled that camera out, and I think you were telling me you got a brand new Canon camera and you found your dad's old lenses, and so your dad's old lenses fitted on that camera perfectly, so they were giving you these really crazily good shots. And I've seen a
Hmm.
lot of photography in the past as well. That creative nature, like, do you find your work-life balance easy to deal with when it comes to that sort of stuff?
I've never understood the phrase work-life balance. I work pretty much exactly as much as I want to. I enjoy it. I also have a life, but work is tied up in my life. I do a thing that I love, and uh, I don't. I think that phrase has just become like a catchphrase that doesn't really have a ton of meaning lately. That people feel obligated to sort of like schedule some like moment where they're going to like have their life, or that their life and their work are completely separate. That might be important, I guess, if you work in an office and you do a job that you just like fucking hate. But I don't really understand where a line would be between my life and my work.
That's just
Does that
Jeff.
make sense?
Yep,
I just don't even really know what work-life balance means.
Jeffrey Morgenthaler out here just dropping bombs. Obviously, I knew when I threw some questions at you that it was going to be like it was going to be enlightening, but it was going to be enlightening, but in a Morgenthaler way, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I just don't get it. I think a lot of people spend too much time on the internet, and they think that they hear some buzzwords and they think that they're supposed to like live a certain way. Just I don't know, just fucking live your life. Are you
We
working too much? Take some time off. Do you hate your job? Quit it and do something else. Do you hate your career? Quit it and do something else. I don't fucking know. Like
this
if
is
you
gonna be
can't if you
it's
can't figure out how to balance like work and whatever you think life is supposed to be, something different from work, then fucking I don't know what to tell you. I really don't.
it's great. So we've been around long enough. We've seen obviously tons of books come out as we're talking about blogs. What's your feeling on trends? Like the one thing that I still hate is this sort of come and go of trends in the bar industry, and it's been something that's been around for like 25 years. It's not something that's new in the last 5 years or post pandemic. Like I still have
25 years? It's something that's been around since the invention of people drinking things. I mean,
this is very true.
what's your beef with trends?
I mean more so with the internet age, like trends coming and going so quickly because of that internet cycle. I still have barrel aged cocktails on my menu, even though I've read multiple articles in the last 5 years say barrel aging is dead. And I still love barrel aging. I do Solera. It's a lot of fun. How do you feel about trends after all these years?
I think they're great. I mean, I've been responsible for a bunch of them. So that's nice. I've latched onto a bunch of them. Like I remember where the early phase of the trend of making drinks with fresh squeezed juice instead of using sour mix, like that trend. Um, Now apparently we're back to making sour mix, but we make it at home. Um, we're buying all these acids on Amazon and making sour mix. But yeah, I mean, trends are cool. It's great to, I don't want to do the same thing every single day always. I want to learn new stuff and try new stuff. And, I think, yeah. What's the question?
I think you answered about how you feel about trends.
They're great.
So we're at the middle of the year now. What's your
Mhm.
plan for the rest of 2025?
Oh shit. I would like to travel more, work more, do more stuff outside of the bar. I'm trying to. I would like to. I'd like to do more stuff outside of the bar. Like I am very good at pulling floor mats at the end of the night and um, handling drunk people and making a million cocktails very quickly. But I also really want to get out there and connect with other bartenders, younger bartenders, bartenders in different parts of the country, different parts of the world. I just want to like contribute and connect. I'm turning 54 later this year in a few months, and I can't do this forever. So I would like to contribute as much as possible while I still can, and not just in a like check out how old this guy is behind the bar kind of way.
Go see old man Morgenthaler. He'll make you.
Yeah. I
He'll
mean,
make.
that's cool. That's cool. But like, I also would like to do some other stuff.
Um. So we're at the stage of the podcast where I ask 5 deep philosophical questions.
Whoa. I don't
So
know if I don't know if I'm going to be able to help you here, but I'll try.
you're going to be great. You're going to do great. What is one lesson or experience that has shaped your perspective the most, and how do you carry that forward in your life?
Oh, that's I don't that's a question that I would have needed to get some you should have sent that to me a week ago.
It's meant to be off the cuff because it's all about it being organic.
Mm,
Doesn't
what's one experience that shaped my life? And
It doesn't need to be a bar experience. It can be just a life experience.
oh, I mean, I I grew up like very shy, and when I needed that first summer job, I applied to a bunch of jobs that that I just didn't have experience for, but they're entry level. One of them was bartending at that neighborhood place, and the other one was washing dishes at a restaurant. And I kind of wanted to take the dishwashing job because I always liked cooking and I thought it would be cool to work in a restaurant. But I took the bartending job because it was the idea of speaking to strangers was fucking terrifying to me. And so that experience, doing something that scared me, even though I knew that it was like the right thing to do, that definitely shaped the rest of my life.
See, perfect. If
Fuck.
you could leave one lasting message or piece of wisdom for the world, what would it be and why?
Um, be excellent to each other. Bill and Ted.
Looking back on your journey, what is something you wish you understood earlier in life?
Oh God. I would like to do all of this over again, but maybe make more money.
Oh, fuck, I would too.
I would have bought case. I've been selling some of my vintage liquor on these auction sites, and I see some of the other things that are on there. I'm like, man, if only I bought a case of Red Hook Rye back when it was $49.95 a bottle, or Pappy Van Winkle 15
Oh,
back when it was 30 bucks or whatever. I could I could That's a down payment on a house.
yeah, it is really insane. Just some of the
A case of each of those is a down payment on a house.
yeah,
That's
that is
fucking nuts.
mental. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
mental.
it's yeah.
This is going to be a good one. How do you define success, and how's your definition of it changed over time?
Oh, I mean, I think success is, I actually just talked about this in Berlin last year. I did a panel with Monica, Eric from Handshake Bar, and Jörg Meyer. And that was one of the questions was, or, I mean, that was the topic was success. And I think that it's sort of like different for every person, right? There's no ideal of success. I feel very successful. I mean, I'm able to be sort of free and do what I want. I make enough to live on. I'm not, crazy rich, but I'm doing just fine. I'm comfortable. And I get to share with the world and make people's lives just like a little bit better. Like I know that like sharing like a web app, a free web app is not making the world like a crazy better place, but makes a couple of people's lives easier when they're batching cocktails for a party or for an event. And I get people all the time coming up to me, thanking me and telling me how helpful it was. And that makes me feel pretty successful.
That's cool. What do you
Yeah.
hope? What do you hope your legacy will be, and what steps are you trying to build it?
I mean, that just all of the knowledge that I've shared, I hope that like it sticks around for a long time after I'm gone.
Nice.
That's why I do it. Like um I have like a unique talent, right? Like I'm not everybody in the world is pretty good at this job, you know. Some people are great and some people are just like, and I'm just fortunate that I just figured it out and that I'm pretty good at it. And so I'm just trying to like get as much of it out there as I can so that everybody can have it and be better at their job.
That's awesome. Last question is a softball one. What's your favorite classic cocktail?
Mm, I mean, favorite right now, probably martini. I mean, it's like martini, old fashioned, Negroni, Manhattan, daiquiri, right? That's like those are the ones that are always like, or like margarita, maybe maybe a margarita more than a daiquiri.
Oh,
Um,
the gin,
everybody loves the margarita. I
the
mean,
gin,
everybody loves the daiquiri, but what's that?
the gin martini's been making a comeback on when I've been asking this question.
Oh, everybody, yeah. I'm so glad that it's so when I started tending bar, martinis were just like something that old people drink. And then like in the late 90s, martinis became this like fucking thing that you had to be a dick about and douchebag about. And everybody was just kind of a piece of shit about the vermouth and all the kind of like, there was this bar in town that was like very fancy and they did the whole like they like held the glass near the bottle and let the sun, it was all that horse shit. And everybody's so pretentious about martinis. And now it's just like everybody makes a great martini.
Yeah.
Nobody, if somebody comes in and they're just like super fucking weird about the martini, it's like what year do you think it is? Like we're all just drinking martinis and they're all delicious. And
And
I
you're
think
gonna
every dry martini should just be 5-1. I don't believe in any. I don't drink any other ratio other than
you're a
5-1.
guy.
100% since day one, always.
Not nice. Yeah,
Tried
so
them all. 50/50s are gross to me. I just don't want that much dry vermouth. It doesn't taste good, you know.
yeah, and then you got Duke's Martini, which is a splash of a couple of dashes of vermouth, and then just poured 5 ounces of frozen gin.
5 ounces of undiluted frozen gin. Just, I love the experience, but like, oh, come on, guys.
Oh, do you have any food to like soak this up? No, we just have these bar snacks. Like
We've
crap.
got some peanuts. Yeah. Ugh. I love the freezer martini trend.
I did that.
That's awesome. We almost always have a martini in our freezer and a special Manhattan that I haven't whose recipe I haven't shared yet, but I will soon.
Is that the next app and the next post is about how to do proper freeze martini dilution and everything?
Well, that you can just do that with the batch calculator.
Calculate. I did see that. Yeah.
Yep.
Well, man, as always, it's great catching up.
Yeah, you too.
We've actually caught up quite a lot in the last year, which is weird. Like
I know. Yeah, I've seen you like 3 times or something.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
San Francisco, Vancouver twice. Did we do Vancouver twice? Yeah, we did do Vancouver twice.
We did.
Yeah, Vancouver twice, and San Francisco has been fantastic. So,
I love coming up to BC, man. I want to do it more. I miss the days when we did Art of the Cocktail together, and it's like one of my favorite places. I also just want to come up for like personal stuff and go camping and all that shit.
Yeah, hit Tofino and that sort of thing.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, I've always wanted to do Tofino.
Well, man, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it. Can't believe
Thanks,
it was
Shawn.
100th episode. So I think I'm almost close to my 450th episode.
Jesus.
Yeah. So it's been a blast to sit down and have a chat with you and catch up.
It's a great podcast, man.
Thanks.
Congratulations.
Buddy. Thank you so much. Well, I'll let you get on with your day and I'll chat to you real soon.
Love you, bud.
Love you, buddy. See you soon.
Talk to you later. Bye.
Thanks for listening, Pose Shifters. Well, I hope you enjoyed that episode. I really enjoy sitting down with friends and peers and just chatting about the industry and getting down to the nuts and bolts of what's really going on out there. Make sure you like, subscribe, comment, everything on all the platforms. Just hit it up and I'll do my best to answer any queries or questions you have. I'll see you next week, guys. Bye.